Oh, stop swiping. Come here. Do you recognize these frames? This is probably the origin of skateboarding, if time travel was real. Because that's Marty McFly coming back in time, breaking the scooters of these kids, and riding for the very first time a skateboard. So many people just started to skate only for this movie. And that's also a grip tape that you can find in my shop. But today we're gonna talk about something serious. The real difference in between a spring surf track and a CX surf track. So a system based only on bushings and a system based on a spring. If the model of the spring is enough strong for your weight, it will definitely give you more rebound than a bushing. Let's say that it pumps slightly better if there is a spring. It requires more maintenance, is heavier, is metal on metal, but it's slightly more surfing because there is a return. It's kind of too easy. And with this I mean if you pump very easy at slow speed, then you will have a lower top speed. But the real difference is not that it's springy. I mean, when you surf well, you don't really care about this. The real difference is how it leans and how it turns. And there are two different junctions. So there is this motion plus this motion. That's allow you to tune your movements because it's not always the same. What makes a spring system actually special is that when it's turning, it's not just pivoting on one point. So pivoting on 2 points, you'll end up with something very strange like this. Like the axle is moving and is moving around a different pivot points. So it's happening that. While on a CX track, it's happening something like this. Just that's why a spring system is better for pumping, not just for the spring. For example, this motion will happen also with an adapter that is not based on a spring. This is a waterborne adapter with a bushing inside. Here we are using it with the undertow. A used board over 10 inch wide, over 33 inch long, and is still able to turn extremely tight, having a great return but still being so stable to be able to do some dancing on it. Yes, that's my board, my brand, and you can get more info about size, weight or whatever clicking here on the top right. You put together an adapter with a track. Carver always has been the worthy. Carver, thank you Carver, you introduced Surfskate to us. So you are the god, the godfather, because I don't believe in God, sorry. But now we have systems that actually turn better than Carver. Let's recap. We have this possibility. Okay, that's very good. This possibility changed the way of pump. So we have a slight preference if you like a surfy style for a 2-axis system. Doesn't matter if it's a spring or if it's a bushing. There are 2 different axes of motion. But what really affects the pumping? The amount of leaning. And that's not up if it's a spring system or if it's a bushing, if it's 2 axis or 1. It's about how a track can lean. And this is something that not all spring systems can do. Some spring systems just don't lean enough, which is an aspect that makes them easy to use for beginners, but if you surf from quite a while, you find kind of a limitation. And that's the reason why some people prefer to use the CX track for the park, but to pump around they prefer a 2-axis system. But nothing is stopping us from picking a CX track that leans as much as a spring system. It's just about the freedom of the kimping to move inside of the hole, the motion, how the pivot go inside. Like mechanically, you can totally get this same amount of leaning. And this is what I wanted to achieve with my track. I wanted to tune them with the right bushing, leaving all the freedom to turn, and so give a huge leaning. Even on this kind of track. If I get the same turn and the same leaning of a spring system, do your math. You almost get the same experience. I don't mean that it's gonna be identical. It wouldn't be so springy, it wouldn't move on 2 axes, but this amount of leaning will allow you to combine the turning of your shoulder with a compression of the legs, transmitting all the power all the way as you are used to do in your Meraki, for example. But then, why there is a preference for people that go on skate park for a only bushing system track? We already said, low maintenance, way lighter, and so if there is any error, if it's lighter, it's a big help. But most of all, it's more stable. And it's more stable especially when you are going fakie. I mean, when you are riding backwards. Imagine, right now, I'm riding this direction, I'm going this way, and suddenly I'm going backwards. And this became the backtrack. If this was a two-axis track, it would be very confusing. It's still possible, but it's way harder to maintain the stability. While with the CX track, it's way easier to ride backwards. You just have to stay a little bit more with the front foot on the tail and leave the nose on itself so that you can activate the backtrack. But what you really need for this, the leaning. You need the leaning on the front and also on the back, which is a lack of many systems. What I really care, it was to give lot of leaning on the front and lot of leaning on the back. I want a backtrack that is able to turn, that is still stable, so you can have a good pump on higher speeds, but that is able to pump, like I can pump it backwards. And I can match the leaning of the front track so that I will never rise a wheel in the turning, which is like just wasting energy and make me lose stability. Final step, I can tune my board to do more than just surf skating. I can get to do freestyle and especially dancing, which is something quite challenging on a surf skate because you cannot put your board backwards, or when you are doing cross step or stuff and you are very close to the nose, it's kind of more challenging. Can you imagine why I also sell them separately? I mean, you can just get the front track. Maybe you have a spring system and you already have a nice backtrack, like the backtrack of the Carver is great, and you think, oh, I want to see X in the front. Cool, you can get just this CX from me, skatepip.com, and get just the front track. Isn't the option. But the genius thing in my nerdy head is allowing you to buy only the backtrack, so that you can finally match it with your actual system that maybe lean a lot in the front track, like a yaw for example, but it didn't lean enough on the back track. You can totally improve your yaw, or you can improve your waterboard setup. Some people prefer to don't use the back railer, to just keep the system lighter. Using my backtrack, you will still be able to keep all the four wheels always in the ground, even in a tight turn, which it means being more stable, having more control on your turn and also on your slide and your snaps. I also care a lot about the tuning of the bushing. That's why in my setups you always find sometimes here a barrel, sometimes a conic, different colors, because it really matters on your style, on your weight. Sometimes somebody lighter need more stiffness because you pump harder. Sometimes somebody heavy always needs something more stiff, otherwise it's a mess. So barrel bushing give you more material, and so it make it not just a little bit stiffer with better rebound, but it make it more controllable because you are controlling what you are doing. So I like it barrel when I'm dancing, I like it conic when I just want to surf super loose. So I want the conic also here. That's why in my setups you can decide. You can write to me and say, man, I want these bushings. Give me the conic setup, give me the cylindric stuff, give me everything, give me spare bushing so I can tune it. Yeah, why not? It's kind of a big expense to buy bushings and riser or separately. So if you have some preference, I like to give you exactly as you like, or for a little extra price to give all the extra material for cheap, for very cheap, good quality material for cheap. My idea was a board where I could actually change a lot the wheelbase. I have, for example, a track with 8 holes. You can count it: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a board with 8 holes too. And that allows me to have like so many variation of wheelbase. I try to explain to you because I know it's not something that you see every day. And I will start with first position like this, second position, third position, and fourth position. 4 different positions. Then in the back track, I have 2 choices. That's because I don't really want to play too much with detail. I want to have the same proportion here. It's very important. Otherwise, it will be confusing. So here I have the first position, matching all holes, and the second position. In total, I have 4 different combinations here that can combine with the shortest or the longest wheelbase here, and that will make a total of 5 or 6 different positions of the wheelbase. So you can decide, do you want to have it super surfy, keep it very short? Do you want to have it very stable? Do you want to dance on it? Do you want to do free ride on it? You can put on a reverse kipping track also. And so for this, keep the wheelbase as long as you can. So shortest wheelbase, and we do like this, and we have the widest wheelbase.